Thank you, Felix, for the necrological invitation. My dear friends and fellow NAM, my dear countrymen, mga kaibigan at gilid kong mga kababayan, gagayam ken kakabsat. Saluyo tayo, saluyo. My dear Lupita and Ken, Lupita was my director of television, in which I did my last show, starring Ninoy Aquino. That was the end of Max Soliven. You know, when Chairman Mosqueda of the Board of Judges announced picture taking, I knew I was finished. But everybody was going to go home. So I said, well, what the heck, I better go home myself. Because who wants to hear a speech from Max Soliven after all those wonderful speeches that delivered today by everybody, including a candidate for Congress? I would like to congratulate all the fine winners of the Ninoy Aquino Memorial Awards. I'm very pleased, incidentally, with the award for the World War II veterans. My late father was then the incumbent assemblyman, congressman, for Ilocos Sur, when war broke out, was a major from Bataan. He was in the death march, he was in prisoner of war camp for 5 months, and died of malaria at the age of 43. He never got to fight for his pension. He never got to fight for U.S. citizenship. And he never would have done the same thing. In fact, one of the early fighters, if you veterans here will recall, for a better deal for Filipino veterans was my late mother, a widow of a USAFE major. When she complained to the U.S. Veterans Administration that widows of American veterans, Americans, were getting their pension in dollars twice as high as the pensions of widows of Filipino veterans with the same rank and in the same regiments. And to thank her for her complaint, the U.S. Veterans Administration canceled her pension. Her pension. It was only returned 5 years later on the intervention of 2 American congressmen and the American Jesuits of the Ateneo de Manila. So this battle is still on. On the other hand, what my mother did was she was also a veteran herself. She was a member of the USAFIC Northern Luzon in Ilocos Sur. We belonged to the same regiment that fought the Battle of Besang Pass, the 121st. USAFIC NL. The only Filipino regiment that won a battle against the Japanese. They defeated the Japanese Koba Division in the mountains of Besang. And therefore, congratulations to all of you, I'm proud of you. And to all, like Mark Polito, these young people who are taking up the torch for our country. But I'm not going to give you a speech. I think you're tired of listening to speeches by now. And other speeches are better than mine. I just want to tell you a little bit. I'm a storyteller. Tell you a little bit about Ninoy Aquino. Because you honor him, and maybe you should know a little about him. Because, you know, it's easier to become a saint than to become a hero. Why, if you're a candidate for saint, your record of life and a few miracles are examined by a group of old men in the Vatican. And they study you for so many years that by the time they declare you, firstly, they beatify you and they declare you a saint. All your enemies and detractors are dead. So there's nobody to complain of, oh no, he should not be a saint. But you know, to declare somebody a hero is even more difficult because all the people who hate your guts are still alive. And what is more, they've been re-elected to Congress. This is why I was very unhappy with the move of the Conscientiang Filipino and some congressmen and senators to ask Congress of the Philippines to declare Ninoy Aquino a national hero. What the heck? How can of rascals. For all of us, Ninoy Aquino is a hero, period. You know, Ninoy has touched the hearts of all of us here. Even you loyalists who are here today. Face it. You guys don't hate Ninoy as much as you say so. You really like it, you wish you were on the same side. You are on the same side. Because he fought for the things all of us Filipinos, in your case Filipino Americans, are fighting for. The right of free speech, the right of free thought. Sometimes we speak without thinking, that's why I do that. The right for our country, our two countries, to have a better life for everyone. You know, everybody quotes that thing about Ninoy saying, the Filipino is worth dying for. I think the challenge he gives to us is the Filipino is worth living for. And I think we ought to live by that credo. You know, when I first met Ninoy Aquino, I met him on the day I fired him. You know, we were both students. We grew up together in college. I was ahead of him, which makes me older than him. I was a junior at the Ateneo of Big Gordon. The Ateneo de Manila, and I was the managing editor of the guide of the school paper. And he was a freshman. And I was looking at his copy and said, who is this guy who writes some atrocious English? He's from Tarlac. No, Ilocanos can write English, but Kapantanos can write. Except the Macabelos. Anyway, to make a long story short, he was the most god-awful English I ever saw in my life. You know? So I summoned this guy who was writing it, and I said, when he came in, good morning, sir. He came into my office at Ateneo, and I said, are you Benigno Aquino Jr.? Yes, sir. He says, you know, are you the son of the great Don Benigno Aquino? Of course, I disagreed with him. But I said, he was a great man in his own way. But are you the son of this guy? And he said, yes, sir, I'm the Benigno Aquino Ninoy Jr. He says, he was very thin, lanky, and he was with these big ears, you know. He was all ears, you know. It was not so obvious when he became fatter, but then he was thin. He was all ears. And I said, you know, the trouble with you, Nino, is that you write terrible English. You don't know the difference between present tense, future, perfect, imperfect, and proof perfect. And he scratched his head and he said, what's the difference? So I said, hey, you're fired. You learn the difference between those tenses, and when you do, you come back. But you know, he never came back. Instead, he joined the Manila Times. Where grammar is not necessary. And at the age of 70, he became a war correspondent in Korea. Because even in those days, he was a charming guy. Even after I fired him, he was making ship to me. I'm telling you. He was really completely charming. Perhaps the most charming guy I ever knew. Because he charmed Dave Boguslav, the Brooklyn-born editor of the Manila Times, and Chino Rosas, the publisher, into sending him to Korea. But the first thing they said was, what is your mother going to say? But instead of telling his mother, he hitched a ride on a plane to Korea, and by the time his mother realized what was happening, he was already there. But that's Ninoy Aquino. Don't ask, don't think, just do it. And that's what he did. He did it. You know, the trouble with us Filipinos, we talk. We form a committee. The way to destroy any project is to form a committee. Once you have a committee, tapos na! Nothing will happen until the year 2000 of President Ramos. I don't know why he's talking about the year 2000. It's going to be gone by 1998, I guess. He intends to declare martial law. You know, being the second cousin of Marcos, and Apo Eddie might do the same thing. I keep on needling about it. I said, you know, you've been offering me government positions, Mr. President. I said, but the only position I'll accept is Secretary of National Defense. And he said, why? Well, it's quite simple. When Marcos declared martial law in 1972, I was on the list of people to be arrested, along with Ninoy. The next time you declare martial law, I want to be the one to make up the list. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Ramos. You know, Ninoy was a great guy. You know, he never improved his grammar, but he improved his ghostwriters. It's different when he stands up on the platform, he starts talking. He was a real bocador, you know. He could talk, he could bend people's hearts. He could hold his audience in the palm of his hand. Some of you have listened to him. He had this magnetism, you know, this charisma, to use that ancient word. He was a force of nature. But why? Because he's sincere. He had this personality and this drive. You know, people respond to that sort of thing. This was Ninoy Aquino throughout his life. Look at his career. I mean, he became a very, very famous foreign correspondent. Simply because he convinced Dave Bogoslav that he was a good guy. So Bogoslav said, okay, just get me the facts and I'll translate your story into English. That's when he became famous. He sent these dispatches from the war front with all the color, all the drama, everything. Bogoslav would lock himself into his office for 1 hour and it could come out in English. Great war correspondent, everything. He decided when he came home, he was going to do something. He was going to run for mayor of Concepcion, Tarlac. And he was underage. So all his bonus were questioned. When he won, you know, in the world, people don't question you when you're running. But when you win, they say, ay, Daya, like Long Beach, California. So Little League. The rules of the International Little League are no complaints after the first pitch. Right? So the first pitch came, there was no complaint from Little League. Long Beach. But when these dark Filipinos won, immediately start complaining they're overage and they don't come from Zamboanga and so forth. Same thing with Nino when he won. Underage. It was true. He was 10 months underage. So what did he do? He went and got himself another birth certificate. Don't start emulating this because he had a good reason. Nino said, I'm part Chinese. And you know, when a Chinese is born, so I was not lying, he's already 1 year old. This is true. Chinese record their age from the day they're born, 1 year. And a lot of you veterans are lucky you're not Chinese, you'll be 1 year old. This was here. Then he decided he was going to be lieutenant governor, vice governor, and he ran and he won. At the age of 27, he was vice governor of Tarlac, the youngest vice governor in the Philippines. At the age of 29, he was the governor of Tarlac. And then he decided, well, where do I go from there? He decided to run for the Senate. And they were questioning his age. You know, the Nationalist Party filed a complaint saying that he's underage. And technically, under the law, he would have been underage on election day. But he was able to convince people that the constitutional amendment meant that you should be of the right age, 35 years old, on the day you are elected. That means after the counting, the canvassing, and then the proclamation. So again, he was able to make Pusok. He became the youngest senator of the Republic. That's how Ninoy Aquino did things. This is why in both derision and in admiration, we invented a name for him. We called him Superboy. Well, he was Superboy. I mean, he was a boy, but he could do super things. And I think that's the way we Filipinos should be. We may be weak, we may be discouraged, but we must remember that we're all Superboys and Supermen. And Ninoy Aquino led the way. He never asked, can I do it? He just said, do it. That's what Kaya just now said. Kaya ko, kaya natin. We can do it. And that's the message I want to leave with you today. You know, when he was campaigning for the Senate, I used to accompany him. And he used to read off statistics. You know how fast he talks, you know. And very convincing, everybody would applaud. And then he came back to me. He said, Brad, gusto mo bang talumpati ko? I said, yeah, your speech is wonderful, but your statistics are wrong. Never mind, as long as we talk very fast. They can believe it. And then he said, what are the right statistics? So I gave it to him. The next speech, next town. Boy, statistics are right away. Why? Because of eidetic memory. They look at the facts and figures, and they were in his mind. You know, Ninoy Aquino was a rare man, a man who could do everything. I don't talk about his love life there, but his story. The queen of brownouts and blackouts. But to make a long story short, Ninoy was a man who was always full of enthusiasm. He kept on egging me on to enter politics with him. He kept on coming to me with the nomination of the Liberal Party for senator. One day they even nominated me for mayor of Manila. Jerry Ross, Ninoy, the late Congressman Loyola, all of them were badgering me for 3 weeks to become the candidate, official candidate for mayor. And of course, the Manilans will never forgive me. I said, after 3 weeks, I said, doggone it, I don't want to be mayor. Manila is ungovernable. Give it to that guy, Bhagat Singh. Because he's so hungry to be mayor. And for God's sake, they gave it to Bhagat Singh and he became mayor. And Manila never recovered. But you know, it was a blessing in disguise that I turned down the nomination. Because remember that bombing incident in Plaza Miranda, the proclamation ran of the Liberal Party. Many of the Liberal Party candidates were wounded and some were killed. Some of the photographers, like Jun Sidon is here, our fellow photographer many times got killed by that candidate. Jerry Ross was wounded, Joey Solongo was clinically dead, but he recovered when he's rushed to the hospital. That would have been my proclamation rally as mayor, candidate for mayor of Manila. And you know, Bhagat Singh is taller than me. He lost his leg. Heaven knows what I might have lost. What's the use of me? I would have been the world's oldest coloratura soprano. That's why I would be leading the Philippine flag, for heaven's sake. And that is why I told Ninoy after that, I said, Ninoy, you keep on badgering me to run for the Senate, run for mayor. You know, you're creating your own disaster. Because I know you tasted the presidency with your mother's milk. If I become a senator or a mayor, I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to go for president. And then you and I are going to be in a collision course. And Ninoy said, in that case, no, Bolero. In that case, Brad, I'll give way to you. And I said, don't kid me. Ninoy, you become president, I'll bat for you. Let me remain a journalist, I'll fight for you to become president. And he almost did become president. One day he came to my house at 6 o'clock in the morning. He pops up at the most unusual times. Sometimes at midnight, sometimes 6 a.m. I said, well, every time an idea strikes him, he goes. And he came to my house in Paco and he says, Brad, are you going to buy me breakfast? Okay, I bought him a cup of coffee. I don't buy me breakfast. I said, you know, I've been thinking, if Jerry Ross gives him to me, I'm going to be the standard bearer of the Liberal Party for president next year in 1973. With that in mind, let me have the honor of offering you the first cabinet position. Wow, hindi pa nominated, he's already making me a leader. I said, well, you know, you're not kidding. Oh, no, I'm serious. Oh, in that case, you know, there was not that time no tourism secretary. So I said, I like to travel, as everybody knows. So I'll be Secretary of Foreign Affairs. Sabi ni Ninoy, done. But I didn't become Secretary of Foreign Affairs. Instead, we both got arrested. Carson Civic. He was arrested at midnight. I was arrested at 4 o'clock in the morning. He was arrested in the Hilton. Surrounded the Hilton with 200 men. Colonel Gatan came up to him and said, Ninoy, don't let your bodyguards fight back because I've surrounded the whole 200 men. So he got Ninoy. He was attending this conference of senators and lower house representatives, a conference committee. That's why he was arrested in Utah. I say that in order that people might not have any doubts about his being in a hotel. In my case, like a good husband, I was in bed with my wife at 2 o'clock in the morning. My real one. And they came to my house in San Juan. And my gardener was a sergeant in the Philippine Army before he became a civilian. Came knocking at my door and said, Mini Lucano, sir, the Metro Joy Samuel. their Metrocom troops in front. And I said, what did they want? I said, they want to talk to you, sir. Immediately I said, this is a liquidation or a kidnapping. So I called my best friend in the military. His name was General Fidel Ramos. I called him at home to find out what it's all about, and he was not home. I said, by golly, for a Protestant not to be at home. There's something happening. Don't come in the morning. So I called up Camp Crame, and his aide said, yes, the general is here. He's interviewing Senator Aquino. Aha! I said, ano ba yan? So Ramos came to the phone and said, Max, what can I do for you? And I said, Eddie, I said, there's a squad of Metrocom led by a major in front of my house. Is this a liquidation? Or is it a hit or an arrest? A legitimate arrest? He said, I assure you, Max, it's not a hit. It's not a kidnapping, it's an arrest. I said, why am I being arrested? He said, well, hell no, I don't know, because they only got released at midnight, because the president has declared martial law. And I said, well, you know, I can fight back. He said, I still got guns in my house because we just finished the Crisologo Wars. And I said, he said to me, Ramos said to me, I suggest you surrender, and I'll take care of you. When you get to Camp Crame, I'll see you, and I assure you no personal harm will come to you. Then his voice dropped, and he said, and besides, it will give your men time to sanitize your house. So I decided to surrender. I told my guardian to tell them I was coming. I started packing my bag. I put in my clothes. I put in my back issues of Playboy magazine. Inspirational living. Mabuti mo na si father. And when I was dressing up, my wife said to me, you better wear a Barang Tagalog because they're going to take your picture. Look at the Barang Tagalog, and even she was right. They took our picture, they fingerprinted it, I was the best dressed. They come crowded that night. Because even Nino was wearing casual. Everybody was there in calzoncillo, in pajama. They had been grabbed from their homes by the soldiers. The only other well-dressed fellow was the governor of Cavite at that time, Nino Bocaran. You know, the guy used to smuggle the fish, throw his nets into the sea and come out with blue seal cigarettes. So I said, how could they have arrested Nino Bocaran? He was Rasputin, you know, he was wearing silk shirt, Gucci belt, Florsheim shoes. The works. In those days, Florsheim was high class, now it's low class. And I said to him, how could they have arrested this guy? He's got 200 bodyguards. So I went up to him and said, Nino, ano ba nangyari sa'yo? What happened to you? He said, I don't know, Max. He says, they told me the president wanted to see me. And so I dressed up. And instead, they both brought me here to Camp Crame. So there we were. You remember Renato Constantino, the radical left-wing writer? Well, I saw his son there, 17 years old at that time. I said, Junior, what are you doing here? I don't know, sir. They came to my house. They were looking for my dad. And I said, well, he's out. He's out of town. He says, what's your name? Renato Constantino Jr. Oh, you'll do. So, kayo mga junior, mag-ingat kayo. But anyway, you know, we can laugh about it now. But in those brief hours in which we were there in Camp Crame, we felt that we were going to be led to the firing squad. And Ninoy didn't have anything better by saying, eto na, firing squad na tayo. And I said, why are you in such a hurry to get shot? 1983, he finally got his wish. At that time, I didn't think it was funny, you know, September 1972. But you know, later on, we realized what Ninoy was up to. He knew that he was the target of Marcos. And the terrorists didn't give a damn about Max Soliven. He gave a damn about San Rodrigo. He wanted to stop Ninoy Aquino because Ninoy Aquino was the pebble in his shoe, the bird in his blanket. The fellow who irritated and ruffled the most, and in 1973, next year, he might become president of the Philippines and arrest Marcos for his corruption. You know, when we were transferred to Fort Bonifacio, maximum security, top 10 of us. Nino said to me, the trouble with you, Max, is you're taking it personally. That's why you're so angry. You know, Marcos has played his last card. This is the only way he can stay in power because under the Constitution, beyond 1973, he cannot run again. And he knows that one of our Liberal Party men will become the next president because we swept the last local elections. And this is his last card. Heaven knows, he's succeeding. And besides, he said, you owe him a vote of thanks. I said, why thank Marcos for arresting us? He said, because if you were not arrested this night, you would have to spend the rest of your life explaining why you were not arrested. Analytical power of Ninoy, even under stress. Ernest Hemingway once said that courage is grace under pressure. Ninoy Aquino had that grace. And he was cracking jokes, he was looking cheerful, even though he knew he was the main target of the entire martial law exercise, in which hundreds and then thousands were being arrested. Because he wanted to cheer us up, wanted to give us spirit. He wanted us to stick together and say, we're not going to give the dictator the pleasure of knowing that we are afraid. And when the next day in Camp Crame they called us out, they were reading a list of 10 men. The following 10, please step forward. Colonel himself was reading it out. People, Ninoy Aquino, Senator Mitra, Senator Sam Rodrigo, Max Soliven, Chino Roses, Terry Locsin Sr., Vicente Rafael, Voltaire Garcia, and so on and so forth. The late Voltaire Garcia was already dying of leukemia. And an editor behind me was shouting, my name, you're not calling my name. And I stepped on his foot and I said, shut up. Why is what it? And he sat up immediately. Didn't want to join us after all. And then they took us out. 10 of us. Sabi ni Ninoy, naku, firing squad na ito. This is our day. And I was so enthusiastic about the firing squad. But they didn't take us out of the camp. They brought us to another building 500 yards away, and we waited there for 3 hours. So that's when we started praying. Senator Sam Rodrigo, who we called our cardinal later on, said, we've given a little reprieve. Let us pray. And I tell you, no group of guys ever prayed so fervently in their lives. Not even the mayor of Calauan, who says he prays the rosary twice a day, were more pious than our group. We prayed and then we sang the first time. Then Nina said, let's sing my favorite song, The Impossible Dream. And I tell you, it looked impossible at that stage. Tapos na. And then he noticed that there was a shower, 2 showers at the back of the room. He said, I'm going to take a shower. And I said, I'm calling mo naman, Brad. You're going to be shot already. You're going to take a shower yet. And he said, at least, this is the corniest joke of his career. But he says, at least I'm going to meet my maker clean. So I took a shower also. And later on, they came for us, and they put us in a bus with barbed wire around. And we were escorted down EDSA by 21 Metrocom cars with their sirens going, wop, 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 woo, woo, woo. And I never felt more important in my life. I tell you, everybody's looking for these VIPs being sent to jail. And Nina said, Brad, we're going to turn right at Buendia. We're going to be shot at the Luneta. You want to be shot in the same place as Jose Rizal. But instead of Buendia, they turned left. And I said, wow, saan na ba ito? We were going to Fort Bonifacio. And then we drove into this small compound, a lot of barbed wire and gun emplacements. The major said, why 10? You said only 3. So you see, 7 of us are going to be shot immediately. But they fooled us. They didn't shoot us the first night. The next day, they sent a priest to hear our confession. Tell you, psychological warfare. So we all went to confession. Ninoy went to confession for 30 minutes because he was confessing all the sins. It was past by. Maybe all of his indiscretions. I don't know. In my case, I went to confession for 45 minutes. Not that I had any indiscretions. I confessed every sin I possibly might have. All of us went. Jokno went to confession. All of them went, except Voltaire Garcia, who was an atheist, free thinker. So I went to Voltaire, magkumpisal ka na. Why? He says, because they're going to shoot us now, after this confession. No, I don't believe in heaven or hell. I don't believe in God. And in that sense, if I'm going to hell, what the heck? I'll go to hell. I said, you know, Walter, I said, you better reconsider that. Because if you go to hell now, you're going to meet Marcos there later. Because the way you were talking is such and then I was telling Ninoy that night, Ninoy, I promise you one thing, Ninoy. I promise you one thing, if I ever get out here, I'm going to get even with that son of a bitch, Marcos. So the next day, the sister of Marcos comes to visit me, because he was our best friend. The late Elizabeth Keyon, the governor of Ilocos Norte. And she says to me, you know, I've been trying to convince Andy, that's what we call him in the family. I've been trying to convince Andy to release you. But you keep on opening your big mouth. You say you're going to get rid even with him. That's when I knew that we were being bought in ourselves. Because Nina was my cellmate. And I tell you, I was not flattered when I was playing the cellmate of Ninoy Aquino, for God's sake. You know. That means I'm public enemy number 2. So anyway, after Elizabeth told that to me, I went back to Ninoy in our cell and I said, Ninoy, you know they're bugging us here in this room. And Ninoy said, that son of a bitch, Marcos, a goddamn dictator, a rat. I said, I just told you we're being bugged. This is what, ang sarap, direct to Malacanang yung broadcast. Kept it up. And then he insisted we go jogging. We had 1 hour of exercise every day. He insisted that we go jogging every day because we had to lose weight. I said, why do we have to lose weight? Imagine if ever we are released from here and we get fat. They're saying they've been feeding us like kings in prison. So we're going to come up with it like that, you know. Emaciated. That was Ninoy's way of keeping everybody's spirit up. And I tell you, we used to make fun of him, call him Superboy. In those months we were together in prison, that's when we realized that he was developing into Superman. You know, he was a real... When he died, August 21, 1983, I wrote an article saying, "Goodbye, Superboy. A fond farewell to the last romantic." Because Ninoy Aquino, when all is said and done, was the last of the romantics. He had this romantic view of the Filipino people as lovers of freedom. He had this romantic view of the Filipino people as fighters for liberty who would not compromise their principles. And I hope that all of us will find the heart and the courage to share that view of Ninoy Aquino. Because it made him not a president, it made him a hero in all our hearts. Because he sacrificed us. You know, I won't speak much longer. All you have to know. All I can say is that when Ninoy was in exile and he wanted to come home, he told us he was coming home. So we sent frantic messages to him. Don't come home. Lupita knows this, and Ken. Don't come home because they're going to kill you. Even Imelda warned him when she saw him in New York. Don't come home because you're going to be killed. Of course, she didn't say that she was going to have been killed. Ferdinand too, I don't want to explicate it, it's easy how involved. But finally, after all these complaints, all these messages sent to him, Ninoy, Lupita came to Manila to give us Ninoy's final reply. That he had made the pledge to come home and he was coming home. And he said, if I should die, then so be it. But I hope that my death will awaken the people to stand up and fight for themselves. And I tell you, I was so angry with Ninoy Aquino, I was so angry with him for having defied our advice and our warnings. We knew he was going to be killed. In fact, the day before he came home, I think Ken was with him, you were with him in the Grand Hotel in Taipei, when he received this mysterious phone call from Manila, after which he came back and told Ken and Wakamiya, who were with him, these Japanese journalists. The latest word is, I'm going to be hit at the airport, and the communists are going to be blamed for it. But instead of turning back, having received this warning, he decided to fly back to Manila anyway the following morning. Here's a man who knew almost with finality that he was coming home to die. And yet, he came home. And I was so angry with him, I didn't go to the airport. went on my knees and I prayed that at the last minute he would change his mind and that he wouldn't come. Before the phone rang in my home on Sunday, August 21, 1983, at 1:30 in the afternoon, I knew without picking it up that Ninoy had indeed come home and that Ninoy was dead. And yet, Ninoy was right and I was wrong. Because his death did awaken our people to the need to stand up and fight for themselves. We all know, I won't have to retell to you the hundreds of thousands, later millions who came to see him. And Doña Aurora, who put him in his coffin exactly the way he had been killed, exactly without wiping any of the blood away, without changing that shirt in which he had been shot, who said, I want the Filipino people to see what they have done to my son. And the Filipino came and saw, and the Filipino went out and decided that if Ninoy Aquino had come home to give his life, they should be ready to give their lives too. It is not in dying that a man becomes a hero, but in all the events of the years before that, that leads him inexorably to his heroic death. And that's why, when all the anti-Ninoy people say that, why are we making him a hero? I mean, he's a guy who just got killed, just got murdered. Does murder make you a hero? It was Ninoy's life, not just his heroic death. That was the exclamation point for that life that made him a hero. You know, in the farewell statement that he was not allowed to deliver at the airport, Ninoy had written one of his favorite lines. You know, he and I were in Harvard before, and we used to see on one wall of Harvard University a line from the great Archibald MacLeish. And it goes this way. How shall freedom be defended? With truth, if it is attacked with lies. With guns, with force, if it is attacked by force. With democratic faith, if it is attacked with totalitarian dogma. But always, and in the final analysis, with determination and faith. Let us have determination and faith. God bless Ninoy. God bless you. God bless the Philippine people. Brownouts, because all these brownouts that we're suffering in Manila is because in the 6 years of the Aquino administration, not one single megawatt of electricity generating power was installed. And so poor Fidel Ramos is playing catch up. And you cannot catch up within 2 or 3 years. You have to start from, and all these old plants are breaking down. He made this embarrassing announcement by December, we'll have no more brownouts. After which 2 plants broke down. So perhaps the next announcement will be by December 1994. So it's hard to say, why? Electricity. You know, when we came in over LA, and I looked down from my plane and saw all those lights all over. There's no power shortage in Los Angeles. In Candon, there was this dialogue. And a fellow from the US, a former Candonian, who's now an American citizen, stood up and said, I'm Ricky Pasqua from Chicago. I'm formerly from Candon. One of my nag-order ng hamburger. And that was Kunana. Mr. President, you know, what we Filipino Americans would like to do is come back and invest in our country. And, you know, I have many connections. Sabi niya, you want a LA accent. But Chicago accent pala, sorry. I'm the chairman of the Candon Association of the Midwest. Sabi niya, are there any benefits you can give Filipino Americans who come back and want to invest in business? The President said, that's the trouble with you guys. I spent a lot of time, well, have you know, in Candon as a young man. I mean, in Chicago, because I was in Chicago a lot. I studied in the area. And I know the people in Chicago. He said, the trouble with us Filipinos is when we have, I bet you in Los Angeles, we have 3 or 4 Asingan associations already, and they don't talk to each other. This coming from FDR. I mean, the president himself said this. And this guy was astonished, this guy Pasqua, he was taken aback. He said,
You know, this is the trouble with the Filipino crowd mentality. Sabi ni Presidente. He says, I don't want to see Asingan associations. I don't want to see Kandon associations. I want to see Filipino associations. He says, we're one Filipino association for all. Everybody joining each other and helping each other. He says, that's why we don't progress in the United States and we don't progress in our country. He said, you know why the Koreans are advancing? A lot of people hate the Koreans, he said. But the one thing that you should say about the Koreans, they have only one Korean American association. The rest, they fight together, they stick together. We Filipinos, he said, fight with each other. That was his last statement, and then everybody, of course, he condoned the club, because they all like to be 60 cents, like you guys, you know. That's face. But he's definitely going to go to 7 cities in America. I said, 7 cities in America will be there forever. They're going to give you a green card. Maybe he wants a green card.
So what are the cities?
Typically dead in the Philippine Star. You're not dead.
Because you didn't show me last time. My question is,
my God, I remember this Chinese restaurant with nice feet over there. Shot.
That's the pancita.
Pancita.
It used to be good looking once. That was before.
Together with the Louis Eugenio.
Yeah, right. Thank God. This is a nice, the incomparable Ernie Dolphin.
So right here. Still right here.
Well, God, you're looking very decent today. What have you done?
Your haircut.
I just restored.
Even I looked for you in Lux and you were not there. You let me down, Delphin.
That's why I'm here.
He's gonna pay for the.
Because they're struggling with my suitcase. The Philippine Airlines people, you know.
He told me that I have a very commitment that I have this.
Since the Tricia Toyota and I broke up, I mean, you've not been taking care of me.
That's the thing.
Anyway, my question, Mr. Soliven, is in our Philippine News front page, this week's issue, the heroism of Ninoy Aquino might be negated because of the article or the book of former Vice President Aurel saying that that's why Senator Aquino was going to the Philippines because he had only 2 years to live, that if he will go to the Philippines he would die and he wants to have a big splash in his death that he will become famous, more famous. Is that true in your analysis with the book of Laurel?
Let us put this, if you're dying in 2 years, why hasten the process? You know, people who are dying, they want to hang on to the last minute.
Yeah, right.
So if you knew you were going to die in 2 years, would you want to die today? No, you want to live your 2 years. In fact, most people would say, baka maging 3. And I'm not even sure about what Toy said. You know? It is this age of medical science, you know. They can even install hearts in people who have no heart.
And then this doctor from Baylor
Any
University.
Aquinos or Cojuancos then.
And this doctor from Baylor University denied this allegation that he would only...
Yeah, I mean, Toy should not have said that because it was not true. You know, in fact, Joe Jovito Salova said the same thing to me in Encino just before he came home to fight when it was safe already. I said, you know, Joey, we needed you last year, not this year. And he said, you know, Nina and I had lunch the day before he left, and he came to say goodbye to me. And he said that his heart was hurt, paining him. I said, Joey, don't ever say that to anybody, because people are going to say that you're trying to downgrade the heroism of Nina. Whether he had 1 week to live, or 2 years to live, or 5 years to live, every person hangs to the last minute. It's even worse than basketball in the last 2 minutes. You hang on desperately to the last 2 seconds. Like Kuramin. He was overdue for the past 10 years and he's still hanging on. You know? The only thing that went was his hair. But his hair. And that's for coming. Right? I tell you. You don't look like you're better. Okay? Now stop smoking because you're going to go the same way. But I think that's wrong, you know. Because we warned him he was going to get killed. And when he was, as Ken Kashiwara will testify when he comes here, they were in Taipei in the Grand Hotel the night before they flew to Manila. And he got a phone call from General Professor Aguirre. This phone call caused the death of Aguirre. They made it look like an accident, remember? And Aguirre warned Ninoy that they're going to kill him at the airport and they're going to blame it to the communists. So Ninoy went back to Ken and to Wakamiya. Wakamiya. And he said, Waka, Ken, I just got a call from Manila saying that I'm going to be hit at the airport. And they're going to blame the communists for it. He says, then Ken said, well, what does that mean? Are we going to turn back? He says, no, I told people I'm coming home and I'm going home. That's it. So he already knew he was going to get it at the airport. He still came. That I think is the heroism of Ninoy. But when the chips are down, and you have a choice between life and death, you choose death. Of course, I would rather that Ninoy were alive. If we were alive, we would have electric power. We would have a power crisis, you know. We would have a crisis in a lot of things. You know, that's life. You know, I have a theory about that, you know. God is giving us a lesson. Every time we have a president or a leader who we love, He takes him away. Well, like Max Soliven was Roman Magsay was the most beloved president we ever had. And at the height of his glory and his fame, God took him away from us. Manuel Quezon, he died in Saranac Lake at the time of war. Died of tuberculosis, the disease of the poor. And here's the president of the Philippine Commonwealth. All these leaders we needed sorely, but God took them away from us. Why? Because I think He wants to tell us that the Filipino nation will not go up unless we all decide to be heroes and heroines. We have to go up together, or not at all. And I think that's the message that Ninoy wanted us to get.
What's the state
Confusion. Everybody's free. Everybody's saying everything, and we're being sued for libel right than that. The Philippine Daily Inquirer has 72 libel suits. The Philippine Star used to have 8, and now we're down to 4. But we had the best libel suit of them all. Carson Aquino, President versus Max Soliven and Louis Beltran, and we were convicted. We were convicted last October, to 2 years in jail, plus to pay Cory 2 million pesos each in moral damages. But it's an appeal to the Court of Appeals. So I can't comment about it. It's a sub judice. Standing in the Court of Appeals. That's the heroine of press freedom, Carson Civic Center.
But there was a story that you were already...
No, that's because the Solicitor General Raul Guapo, the Solicitor General's office, made a manifestation to the Court of Appeals that Beltran and I were not guilty, according to their study. And this is the government prosecutor, and therefore recommended our acquittal. But then Cory complained. Her lawyer, Mario Kiko, filed a manifestation with the Court of Appeals. To say that we're guilty and that we should be punished. In other words, she's still going after us. To see how popular I am with Carson here. Anyway, Mario Kiko is now one of the lawyers of Mayor Antonio Sanchez, the Kalawan Caligola. So what does Sanchez and Cory have in common? Mario Kiko.
So you are not yet acquitted?
Not yet. I'm out on bail. I'm a convict.
No, but
Like you. But yours is quite sexual fixation. And things like that.
Yeah, but what happened to Mayor Sanchez's case now? They are pinpointing Quesa as the mastermind, whose father is a superintendent of police. But of course they denied it that it's the man or the mayor himself is the mastermind. So what's the switch now?
They've just filed a case against Sanchez for rape with homicide as of last Monday.
It's really Sanchez.
Of course, Arab still thinks that Arab Estrada still thinks it's Altesa. I don't know why.
They have something in common, maybe.
Maybe. But Arab claims he doesn't have to rape.
Yeah.
But you remember when Sanchez said that he has 17 mistresses? They asked him in the Senate when he was testifying. He said, joke only. So he's now in jail in Camp Cram. See Sanchez. He was arrested last week. Handcuffed and everything. Now there's an attempt to humanize him. The photographs of pretty girls visiting him in prison, saying they're for you. There's his family celebrating his 24th, I think 22nd wedding, 22nd? 20th wedding anniversary, his wife, Edita, with the THA, went to bring him food in 7 calderos and lunch boxes, and they celebrated their wedding anniversary, Istaki in Camp Ramen, you know, that sort of thing, you know. There's a lot of PR effort.
Who's handling his PR?
I don't know. Poor Adi. I mean, the first time when I've seen a PR effort, everybody is speaking on Adi season. Frankly, I don't know. I don't know who's handling his PR, but it's very smooth. Very smooth operation. There's pictures appearing in the Standard, in the other newspapers, behind bars looking just poor, miserable, you know, with
Probably it's Adi.
his Beatles haircut and all that sort of thing.
Only Adi.
What it is, a haircut and a shave, including a razor slip. What a guy. You know, I exposed him more than a year ago. I attacked him on the murder in Hidden Valley Resort. Remember, he was not allowed to park his car in front of a guest cottage that he had rented for visiting Balikpa and friends.
He controls sweating all over Southern Tagalog.
Controls everything. In fact, Fred Lim told me he arrested him for wetting 3 years ago when he was NBI director. But he got off the hook. Even confiscated the wedding paraphernalia in his house in Calaway. So this guy has got staying power. Don't count Sanchez down and out. He's got the blue book, they say, with a lot of interesting names. So we don't know who these are doing. These are the people who are going to be pulling strings. Either he's going to get out of jail, or he's never going to get out of jail.
Is Governor Luna in South?
How can I tell?